Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Nick. I'm joined with my good friend Mr. Butterworth here. And in today's video, I want to talk about is weight and age related. Can you tell the age of your gecko based on the weight? Well, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to weight and age, and if they're related or not, is kind of a yes and a no answer. So yes, weight and age is related because, as we know, you shouldn't breed your geckos like a female. She needs to be 40 grams at least and 18 to 24 months old. A male needs to be around 30 to 35 grams. It kind of just depends on when he hits it. So that's where it kind of gets weird, is when you're dealing with crested geckos, they don't all hit the same weight and age at the same time. But what determines the size of my gecko? So there's a couple main factors. One of the biggest factors is genetics. If you look at Mr. Butterworth here, he has, you know, good head structure, and he has a good little body structure. So genetics plays a pretty big role in determining how quickly a gecko will grow. The other thing that determines a big role is incubation time. You know, it's thought that the longer an egg incubates, the bigger the gecko will be, and the stronger the gecko will be once it comes out of the egg. Stronger geckos tend to grow faster. So that's another thing to consider. One of the almost the biggest thing is, how was your gecko raised the first 3, 4, 5 months of his life? Whenever you're in that 3 to 6 month range, it's the most vital, well, 1 to 3 months really, is the most vital time for a gecko to grow. Crested geckos seem to go through like a couple growth spurts from what I've noticed. Like this girl right here, Gloria, she's only, I want to say, maybe 10 months old, and she's like 33 grams. That's crazy. I mean, it's a really, really big gecko. So what determines how big she got was kind of how I raised her when I got her from a hatchling. Some geckos are going to eat and eat and eat and eat, and they're going to grow and grow and grow and grow. Other geckos, they just kind of eat as needed and they grow as needed. That's why I'm a big advocate of crickets. You know, giving your geckos crickets is very important because it helps them grow a little faster. Not crazy faster to where it's unhealthy, but it helps like kind of boost them up just enough to where they're actually gonna start growing like a little more. If you have an undersized gecko, really consider getting crickets. You hate bugs, or your gecko doesn't really like crickets. I've heard that. I don't really believe that. Well, I believe that you hate bugs, but I don't really believe that your gecko hates crickets. So when it comes to size and weight, can you determine it? No. Like, age and weight are definitely not correlated, but there are things that you need to understand. Like, if you have a gecko that's 12 months old and is 4 grams, that's not right. There is a trajectory that your gecko needs to kind of grow at. Ideally, by the 3 month range, 4 month range, your gecko should be about 5, 6, 7 grams. I mean, somewhere in that range. I'm about to pull out some of my babies and kind of show you where ours are at and kind of when they hatched, so you get an idea of it, because geckos should grow like this and then they kind of plateau as adults. But that kind of once again boils back to how good of an eater is your gecko, and if they're a good eater, then you're gonna have a chunk like this one. And she's on the same diet. Every gecko in my room is on the same diet, and I have some geckos that are much smaller and some geckos that are much larger, but everybody's been fed the same diet. So it's kind of strange when you're trying to compare the two things, because age and weight are not correlated, but there is a certain, like, there's a fine line between too small for how old it is and too big for how old it is. But usually we're kind of, in this hobby, we see a lot more people fall under the weight line compared to just kind of rising like this. Because as long as they're steadily growing, you're good. If they're not growing, then there's usually a problem with, 1, that they were stunted when they were babies before you had them. 2, they incubated very quickly and had a malfunction while incubating, because believe it or not, that does happen, and eggs sometimes hatch way too soon. And luckily in captivity, we can protect them and we can actually give them a good life. Like, I have a runt, and I can show you that one too. Okay guys, so this is a baby that was hatched April 23rd, and I'm filming this on July, I think it's 5th. Okay, this gecko just weighed 5 grams. This to me is a healthy gecko. It's not like super fat or anything. It's actually still pretty lean on the sides. Like, this is a healthy looking gecko, and I don't think that you would be able to guess that it's 2 months old just by looking at it. So this is a gecko that hatched today. and it just weighed in at 3 grams. So this right here is Rufus. Rufus was born March 20th. Babs is right here. Oh, okay, Babs, good one. Babs was born April 20th. Rufus is 5 grams. Babs is 7 grams. So, I mean, even just by looking at them, oh, you crackhead. So even just by looking at them, I don't think that you would be able to tell that they're a different age, but I know that Rufus hatched super early. He grew very small, and he got down to, like, when he was born, like after a month, he was 1 gram. And then I started feeding crickets, and once I introduced crickets, he finally started to, like, bulk up. But Babs is a full month younger and 7 grams. So that's why, like, whenever I talk about the age isn't related, but I do think that there's a trajectory, this to me looks like a very healthy gecko for being born on April 20th. So April, May, June, July, I mean, like 2.5 months old, to where this is like 3 months old. And you almost tell too, like, I don't know, the tail to body ratio seems like a little better. This just seems like a healthier, bigger gecko, to whereas little Rufus here is super pretty and like almost like a true flame, which is like really awesome, but somewhat underdeveloped in the egg. And we've actually had really, like, I guess good luck for having this tiny little gecko turn out as healthy as he has. I just kind of want to compare some geckos, and I guess like to sum everything all up, size and weight are not related, but size and weight should have some correlation as time goes on. And I know that's very confusing, but I hope I did a decent job of explaining it and kind of being like, hey, like you should have certain target weights identified, and then from those target weights you should hope to hit those. But really at the end of the day, if your gecko looks healthy and is growing, that's all you can really ask for. So with that said, that's this video, guys. Stay safe, stay positive. I'll catch you on the next one.